Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Sharina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the most interesting, cutting edge, useful, fascinating, mind-blowing brain body tools to help you to take better control of your brain so you make better decisions that help you to look, feel, and do your best and achieve the goals that you set out for yourself. Today, folks, is all about goal achieving, taking your commitments and keeping your commitments to yourself and becoming what Russell Brunson, multimillionaire, founder, CEO of ClickFunnels, who helps entrepreneurs to realize their dreams by providing the software, the community, and the marketing strategies, right? So Russell Brunson talks a lot about these days about being a driven person or a drifter. This difference between, and it's not even difference between different people, it's difference in ourselves that we can make. So drifter is someone who just, whatever happens. Drifter allows life to happen as it unfolds without taking conscious control of the design of that life. Compared to driven people who set out the goal, the direction, set out to build the life that they envision, and they do it. No matter how hard it gets, what kind of obstacles and challenges life throws their way, they still are able to do that. Now, of course, not always in the perfect scenario or always on the time frame that they thought they could accomplish it, but they still do it. That and usually overshoot their goals. Are you a driven or a drifter? And the difference, and Russell Brunson explains it really well, it's not even about different people. It's knowing that both driven person and a drifter is inside of you at every single moment. And who you choose to cultivate, that's going to define the direction of your life. And guys, let's agree on one thing. Great things do not happen by chance. And if you're someone who wants great things for yourself, whatever those things mean, whatever that transformation looks like, if you're that kind of person who are about transformation and creating things that other people think are impossible for you, maybe a huge part of you still doubt that you can do them. But if you decide to commit to that, then first of all, it's not going to be easy. And there are going to be a lot of challenges. And second of all, it's a constant work. You cannot just be coasting along and go with the flow and do what feels right. It's kind of like what another amazing person I'm getting to know, an expert, Jenna Gorlin, talks Zen monk mindset. It's kind of like accepting things as they are. There is nothing wrong with accepting things how they are. But if you want to build the life you envision for yourself, do great accomplishments, you don't just accept what is. You decide to do something with what is to transform it. And that's where the difference is between the driven and the drifter. And again, the arena of this battle between those two inside of you, it's open every day, 24/7. And it never ends. And every day when you wake up, and that's why affirmations work so well. That's why you absolutely have to have your commitments every single day. You have to write them down. Even better, read them aloud in front of a mirror with passion, with energy. You have to set the tone of the day to not drift, but drive the day. And over the course of days, weeks, months, and years, you'd be surprised how much you're gonna overshoot your own expectations. Bill Gates also has this amazing saying that people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10 years. If you commit to a decade of daily focus. Now, I'm not saying you cannot take days off. I take day off. Everyone needs days off and times off. But if you commit to, first and foremost, prioritize your life's design, the creation of your goals, if you commit to that every single day for 10 years, I have no doubt that you're going to be blown away by the accomplishment you achieve. And also, you will become the 1% of driven people who exceed all of the expectations of themselves, from themselves, and from other people from the world around them. So the first concept is, are you a drifter? Are you a driven? And the choice is daily, and the rent is daily as well. There is a saying also, in order to live on earth, like service is the rent, and you gotta pay it daily. So that's kind of the same. If you want to be a driven person, the choice never goes away. You have to choose it every day and commit to it with mindset and actions. And today you're going to learn tips and tricks and hacks, whatever you want to call them. Let's call them tools, mindset tools, how to be more successful at being that driven person, how to adjust your motivation levels, and how to do the habits, the not so easy in our get comfortable society habits, how to do the hard habits, how to increase your motivation in an instant when you need it the most. What do successful people do? You're going to learn the neuroscience backed tools that will help you to increase your level of motivation as a self-starter, as a driven person, as a 1% at any given point, and also how to do hard habits on autopilot most of the time. That's like, if you combine those two, adjusting your level of motivation to do the hard thing, and you can stick with your habits on autopilot, because what neuroscience tells us, our brain is a great optimizer, and what you do 90% of the time is automatic, is habitual. That's how your brain saves a lot of energy and a lot of resources. And so no matter what you do, you're still going to have 90% of your thing habitual. You just need to build better habits and build better patterns. So what you do on autopilot actually contributes to your goals. It's like my clients often ask me, Angela, how do I stick with my habits, with my new eating habits most of the time? Why do I, fail at the beginning? And then I explain to them how habits work, and they're like, and I teach my clients how to install those automatic behaviors so they don't have to think about the right thing, but they still eat and do the right thing and achieve their goals. So it's all about building those 90% of habitual pattern-like behaviors. Anyhow, let's get into practice. So I was listening to this podcast a couple of days ago, Finding Mastery by Michael Gervais. And he had one of the guests on his podcast was Rich Diviney, former Navy SEAL commander, now teaches and writes about high performance, amazing writer, communicator, and I'm sure amazing coach. I attended just a couple of his classes. I had him on my podcast. Rich Diviney, search this podcast, you'll find the podcast with him. So he writes about high performance and attributes of high performers and how to build those attributes or qualities of your character so you are an optimal performer most of the time. Basically, that habitual behavior becomes the one of a high performer or optimal performer, what Rich Diviney likes to say. And on the podcast, Rich Diviney was mentioned this neat framework that he developed, and they use it also as Navy SEALs to stay motivated for missions, however hard, however long, unpredictable and uncertain, right? Obviously, being a Navy SEAL, it's a lot of unpredictability. You don't really have any guarantee of how long or how successful any of the missions is going to be. You get into the environment with a lot of unpredictability and uncertainty. And what Rich Diviney learned, he also collaborated with a lot of neuroscientists for his book and his work. What Rich Diviney learned is that you got to keep your motivation and drive high to get mission to success. But in order to do that, you have to make sure that in your head you build neural map or neural pathway in a certain way that drives dopamine molecule of motivation, not of pleasure, but of pursuit, of craving, of motivation, of getting things done. So in order for you to have higher levels of motivation, you need to build this pathway, neural pathway for each of the outcomes that you decide to pursue, right? Whatever goal you have, you need to, on a consistent basis, make sure that the next action step, the next plan for any sort of project, you have this neural pathway. So let me explain. The neural pathway is called duration pathway outcome neural map, because the pathway is already in the formula. So duration pathway outcome. Let's talk about big visions, big goals. Through examples, it's easier to explain. In my own career, in my own business, I'm focused on building this vision, building the builders, helping purpose-driven founders to dial in their inner game so they achieve their goals, their visions, they build their dreams and create a better world by doing so better and faster. In order for me to build that space and help a lot of founders, I actually set up a goal for me for the next year, 2024, 10,000 founders, to help 10,000 founders to dial in their game, to build their visions, making our world better. But that 10,000 founders is not enough to consistently drive my motivation. And why is it not enough? So let's get back to Rich Diviney formula. Duration, pathway, outcome to increase motivation. They all have to be present in order for your brain to release dopamine. So duration, well, now I have duration, 1 year. But then pathway, how am I going to get there? I don't actually know. And for most goals, what founders, leaders, entrepreneurs don't realize, if you have a long-term goal, you don't really have a pathway. You don't really know how exactly you're going to get there. Now, you might say, well, Angela, I have a plan. Yeah, man, plans got laughs, our long-term plans. The longer the plan, and this is research-based statistics, the longer the plan, the less chance you have to create a exact plan. You have to adjust on the go. A lot of things you plan and gonna try, they're not gonna work. They're just the nature of reality. And so again, what research shows, the longer the time horizon, the less certainty you have for the how. So even in that year, I don't exactly know. I never did it to get to 10,000 people influence. And what does it even mean? Affect 10,000 founders. Now, it might mean create courses and have 10,000 people in them. It might mean give talks with thousands of people in the audience, talks, workshops. It might mean working as a coach with accelerators, incubators, all the places where founders gather and work with them in groups and individually. It might mean also creating the podcast and reaching certain milestone for audience. It might mean many other things. And then the third one, outcome. And so I have outcome, 10,000 founders, but is it really a well-defined outcome? No, not really. And that's why as a motivation for everyday actions, this doesn't work. And that's why if you are a founder, an entrepreneur, and you have some lofty goal, you got to realize that you don't even have all the specifics needed for high level of motivations. Now, what did Navy SEALs figure out how to go around that? Because what I'm finding is that Navy SEALs have a lot in common with founders and entrepreneurship in general. They have a mission that is very uncertain, that is unpredictable, where the duration, the how, the pathway, and the outcome, they're not that predictable and that exact. So how do you go around that? How did Navy SEALs go around that to be successful with their missions? What Rich Diviney taught us on the podcast is that the more uncertainty you have, the longer the time horizon for your goal is, the more often and better, more precisely you need to define, the more narrow you need to the more narrow your focus should be. That's what I'm trying to say here. So what it means is, okay, I have my personal goal of 10,000 founders in the next year, but I need to create more certainty for duration, for pathway, for outcome. How do I do that? I narrow down my focus to only the next step. And the next step for me is by the end of next week, fill in my 10 founder coaching program. It's 12-week coaching program till the end of the year. So I have one cohort, 10 people. I still have six people to find. And duration, by the end of next week, we're starting October 10th. Pathway. I'm going to reach out to affiliates. I'm going to reach out to my network. I'm going to create content. I'm going to do a couple of events. Outcome, 10 founders by October 10. Now you see how much more certainty there is in everything. And even more so, I like to narrow down my focus to every single day. Okay, what am I gonna do today and what is the outcome? So the outcome for today is sign up another founder. That's a very precise outcome to get by the end of the day. How am I gonna do that? Today is my day to reach out to all of the people in my network who are founders, who are great connectors, who know a lot of people. That's what I'm going to be dedicating most of the time today. Duration, today, 8 hours, I'm working, even though today is Saturday, for example. So now my motivations levels go up and up and up because the more clarity, and that's what Rich Diviney and Navy SEALs discovered, the more clarity you have in duration, pathway, outcome, neural map, the more dopamine you get, the more motivation and energy and clarity you're going to get on how to achieve that. The main focus of that is if you're a founder, if you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times you will find that you will be in a situation where your duration, your pathway, your outcome are very unclear. And that's why you feel the lack of motivation, the lack of energy. Nothing like uncertainty and fogginess of the goal of the pursuit that will get you off motivation and will keep your energy for pursuit and motivation low. So what do? You increase clarity. You create this neural map that you repeat and go through in your mind. Duration, pathway, outcome. What's the duration of the pursuit? How much time do I need? Pathway. How exactly am I going to get there? Get, as many ideas, as many action steps, make them as precise, as clear as possible. Outcome. What's the exact outcome? Measurable. Something that is numerical, something that you can almost touch. It has to be very precise. And that's how you create more motivation for action. Now, a very similar neural pathway building is used by psychologists and behavior researchers to help people build better habits faster and make the desired behavior automatic. Like, for example, right now it's weekend. And a lot of my clients ask me, Angela, well, I get really strong with my habits and commitments throughout the whole week, Monday to Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, I usually slack off. Like, I didn't do as well with eating, with drinking, with exercise. And of course, you have less schedule and there is social life component. But how do I then stick to my goals and actually achieve results? Because what a lot of my clients find, they do really well and the weight, for example, is going down and they're improving their fitness indicators and if we're working on sleep, scores, then those are getting better. And then weekend happens and the weight magically gets back up and fitness levels also gets not that great and sleep score, whatever we are measuring, they get back to where they were. That's kind of the beginning of the coaching journey. And that's where people realize I really don't have a good handle on that, like on getting the results. I'm kind of just getting back and forth and that's why I'm struggling. So what do we do with that? What I help my clients to do is build that neural pathway of how, when, where, what they're going to do. We make decisions in advance and we rehearse what they're going to do in different situations. And we scale down the focus to only the weekend. So, for example, a lot of my clients like to have weekly progress, like months, for example, every Monday they measure their weight. Now, a week, you can be strong on Monday to Friday and then weekend can screw it all up. So what do? You narrow down the focus. As Friday approaches, you make commitment for Saturday and Sunday only to stick with certain habits. And a lot of my clients would have social gatherings or, things they do with their families and their friends. So for each case, we talk via WhatsApp or during our session, we talk through the whole situation. Okay, what are the choices available there? What are the best possible choice? Like one of my clients went away to some nature resort, and there is a lot of seafood and a lot of salads, also a lot of other stuff, of course. But we're like, okay, what's available? The seafood is really great, and seafood is a great source of protein, really lean, really low calorie. Okay, what are the choices? How is it cooked? What are you going to get with it? Salad, veggies, fruit. And we walk through all the possible options. And so now when they get into the situation, they already have in their head what they're going to eat, what they're going to choose, and why that is important, because they have this goal for health, for fitness that gives them vitality and confidence and makes them feel powerful because they now are reaching their goals, and they build this confidence that they can reach those goals in all the other areas. So why, when, how we build this neural pathway. It's a different one. It's not exactly duration pathway outcome, but this one is used again by psychologists, by behavior scientists. You can pick up the book, for example, by Milkman. What's her name? Blinking out, but the book is How to Change by Katie Milkman. That's what's her name. The brilliance of the brain always, gives you the answers when you frame them well. So How to Change by Katie Milkman. Check out the book. The book is How to Change, and it tells you all the science about how to change our behaviors, our automatic patterns that we do most of the time. And so one of the core principles, or the most effective ways to create new automatic patterns of behavior, is building those neural maps in advance, making decisions in advance, and walking yourself through the situation, making the choice that is aligned with your long-term goals. Like with my clients, we talk through the exact scenario and what are the choices and what they're going to choose and why this is important. For if they drink alcohol, okay, what's the commitment that we do here? What you're going to choose in that place? Like, by wine, like how much? If beer, how much? So we build these neural pathways. We make decisions in advance, and it's kind of like building a road in your own head. So you build these connections between your neurons, and neuroscience confirms this, that mental training, it's physical, it changes your brain. You literally change the connections between your neurons. And so you build those connections, you build those roads, and then when the situation occurs, it's so much easier for your brain to travel along the path that already has been built. It's kind of like if you hike or go up the mountain, it's so much easier to go along the path that people walked many times along. And, it's easy, it's clear, it's, you already know where to grab things or where to step. That's what you do when you create this rehearsal, this neural pathway in advance. So when the situation comes, it's so much easier for the signal to travel between neurons. And when it comes to your brain, what it's concerned with is the simplicity, the easiness, using the tried, proven, built in advance strategies and pathways. So your brain doesn't have to make a new choice. Your brain doesn't like thinking. Thinking is expensive metabolically and energetically. And that's why your brain uses the patterns, the habits to save you energy, to save you resources. And the energy is the currency of life. Your brain is trying to keep you alive, to keep you efficient. Your brain is the best economist, the energy economist. So when you build those neural pathways, when you make decisions in advance, and it works for your eating, for your fitness, it works for your relationships. Like, for example, one of the neural pathways in communication, in relationships for me is every day I show up to empower people. And so when there is a conflict between me and someone else, for example, I remind myself, and I remember that because I repeat that to myself every morning, that I'm here to empower people. Even if I'm in the conflict, the person on the other side, how can I empower them to be their best self? And when we're best selves, it's always a win-win situation. So every day, because of that, I build this pathway. I'm here to empower people. And when I get into any situation, relationships-wise, it's in the back of my mind already. How can I empower that person that I'm in this situation? So building those neural pathways in advance can not only, like Navy SEALs show us, increase your motivation. And again, for entrepreneur, for founder, please realize that you have this dilemma that most of the time things are uncertain. You don't know when, you don't know how, you don't know what really. It's like a lot of uncertainties everywhere. So you need to narrow down the scope, the focus to only the next step, the very short-term horizon. You need to do that. And that's what successful high achievers actually do. Yes, they have their North Star. They know where they're going, but they also most of the time function in the very narrow horizon. Like Olympic runners focus only on the next milestone, on the next person to overcome. They don't focus on the whole journey. Most of the time, they only focus on the next step. That's how ultra runners finish their ultra distances. They focus only on the next step. They commit to the journey, but they focus only on the next step and build a strategy for that. You can always have all the resources to overcome the next challenge, to take the next step. And what neuroscience and Navy SEALs show us, that is very important for higher levels of motivation needed to take consistent action, no matter how tired or, exhausted or whatever that may be. If you need to show up, if you need to raise your motivation level, that's what you do. Duration, pathway, outcome. When are you going to finish that? When are you going to get outcome, the pathway to get there, and what's the exact outcome, the result that you're getting? Like me, by October 10th, getting 10 founders. By the way, if you know any founders, please reach out, Angela at brainbreakthroughcoach.com. I only accept specific kind of founders committed to making the world better. I don't work for a lot of other founders. If you have a mission, if you have a vision, if you know the founder that does, please reach out, Angela at brainbreakthroughcoach.com. We're starting amazing training for 12 weeks till the end of the year to dial in all aspects of inner game, health, fitness, nutrition, productivity, mindset, a lot of neuroscience-based protocols and hacks. You're going to be empowered. You're going to be unstoppable. Now, I'm not going to guarantee you that you're going to be rich in 6 months from there, but you're going to be on your way to extraordinary, and you'll know how to operate your own brain, just we are learning here today, to make your brain, to make your brain your ally in pursuit of high, hard goals. And by the way, the brain is not going to do that by default. What your brain is wired by default is to save energy, find an easy way out, to not do much, but get more. And as we know, that's not exactly the kind of mindset you want to have if you want to achieve extraordinary. And extraordinary, folks, not for everybody. But if you're on this podcast, it might be for you. So, number one, start building those neural pathways, duration, pathway, outcome, to increase your motivation. Now, again, like for me, 10 founders by October 10th, and I even set for myself daily goals, daily outcomes. If you need to build better habits that you do automatically, in order to build those habits, you first have to make it conscious and pre-make choices. First, narrow down the scope. So like with health or fitness goals, only this weekend, not the whole week, only this weekend. And if you win this weekend, then you can plan further, but you gotta win this weekend first. And so you make the decision for food, for exercise, for sleep. You make the decisions when, somebody asks you and to do something and offer something. You make the decisions in advance about everything that's going to happen this week that's going to affect your goals. So build that neural pathway. Pick up the book, How to Change by Katie Milkman. Amazing book, a lot of research from all the different scientists on how to change, how to create new habits and make them automatic. And when you combine those two, increasing your motivation on demand by increasing clarity, the tool from Navy SEALs, but they also work with a lot of neuroscientists actually, and this building neural pathway in advance for your habits, making decisions in advance. When you combine ability to build and stay with consistently hard habits and keeping your motivation level high, there is very little in this life that you will not be able to do. So try it. And again, if you know any founders, please do reach out, Angela at brainbreakthroughcoach.com. Let's do it together. Let's build it. We have 3 months. Yes, folks, we have 3 months till 2024. What do you commit to for the next 90 days? And don't just commit to it in a stupid way. Use the neuroscience-based tools that actually design the brain that will help you with your goals. And again, by default, your brain will not help you with hard goals. By default, your brain wants to save energy. By default, your brain wants to do the easy thing. And that's not what's gonna lead to extraordinary. That's it for today, folks. If you have any questions, please do reach out, Angela at brainbreakthroughcoach.com. My mission to empower purpose-driven builders or founders to make our world better, faster. So reach out. Feel free to use this email for advice, support, and accountability, Angela at brainbreakthroughcoach.com. If you know any purpose-driven founders, please connect us. We are starting October 10th. It's Tuesday, and we are going for 12 weeks straight into the new year. If you need this additional push to stay with your best, most powerful intentions, join us. What else? If you're enjoying this podcast, if you're finding value in it, then please do share this podcast with as many people as possible via social media, via WhatsApp, via Facebook, any means you have, please do share. We do not run any ads, and probably that's going to stay consistent for the entire existence of this podcast, more than 5 years already. So please do share this podcast. We actually are having in the next 3 months a lot of exciting guests coming. I'm also picking up my podcast gaming. I'm already in the top. Some resources say 5%, some 25%, but let's bring the game up and make us truly into top single digit of podcasters, right? I need your help. Share this podcast. Let's build it together, whatever that it is for you. That being said, have an awesome weekend and stay powerful. Commit to your intentions, your goals every single day with plans, with neural pathways, with actions, and you'll be surprised and blown away by the results you're going to get. Stay tuned. Have an awesome weekend.